Hi guys, welcome to the Apatas. I'm Sam.
I'm Zanele.
Thank you so much for joining us, and for those that subscribed, thank you so much for subscribing to our YouTube channel and the podcast. So today we're going to be looking at another topic, and it's around climate change and some of the things that we as human beings should be aware of when it comes to the earth that God has given us and how we must take care of it.
Yeah. We'll start with the scripture because, again, we are Christians and obviously things that we do are based on, the Bible. So we kind of always try to link it back to what the Bible says. So we know in Genesis 2 verse 15, the Lord placed the men in the Garden of Eden to tend and to watch over it. And that basically means God placed us as stewards to take care and manage and oversee and protect God's property, which is the earth.
Yeah.
Okay, and the reality is that the earth itself can no longer really cope with all the pressures that the humanity is placing onto them, because of different environmental issues, and one of them obviously is how us as individuals participate or lack of participation in environmental issues, and how it's actually not a thing in most societies. It's not a thing to take care of the environment. I think people know the environment only when they want to, crops and to raise, for farming and for business and whatnot. If we really have to understand the impact of our, the negligence over the years done by human beings to what we currently have going.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Babes, for that introduction. And I should put a few disclaimers out there that number one, we're not scientists and we're not environmentalists.
Yeah.
However, as human beings, we see it fit that we talk about these things and also share it within our communities and people that are listening or watching, so that we as human beings can collectively start taking responsibilities.
Yes.
Like she said, that this earth that is given to us, we have the responsibility to take care of it. And even in Genesis chapter 1, God says that replenish the earth. But we don't see that happening. And as we go into the topic deeper, you would see how we're just taking from the earth itself, and we're not, replenishing it as we have been commanded.
Yeah.
And so that's one. We're not scientists and environmentalists, like I said, but we just want to make sure that
as
we
well.
bring awareness. Yeah.
Like I said earlier, that in our communities we don't really talk about it, or we don't even have. I don't know. I mean, I grew up in a township, so I don't remember. The only thing I remember about environmental care is when we had Arbor Day, where it was the planting of trees, and also the littering. I think littering came on later on in life, and I think people are getting into it, where even myself, not littering and making sure that any package and whatever is actually deposited into the dustbin than before, because in the township, how it is in the township, everybody, it's very packed, and I know it's very, very hard to keep it neat and to keep it clean, is because of just the living arrangements that is difficult for even if you wanted to, as a community member that lives in the township or lives in in a very
Congested environment.
where you have all kinds of people, and it does impact even a lot of people in how they react to caring about the environment. So I was saying, when I was growing up, there used to be big, very big bins that the municipality used to put in different streets in Alex. Because of that, there was a huge influx of people into the township, and alone in one area you could have like hundreds of families in one like small area, which obviously that means there's going to be a lot of garbage. There's going to be a lot of issues, sanitation issues. I mean, if you know, you don't know the Alexandra setup. We have like from the previous government, we have this compounds. So in a compound there will be different houses within the compound, and within that compound they used to have like one toilet that is shared. The whole compound shares it. So now with the influx of people, and one compound has so many people, that one toilet can't cater for everyone. So the ones that can afford, they have toilets in there. They put toilets inside their houses, and obviously others use the toilets that's provided. But can you imagine the sanitary challenges that are faced by those people who are living in such an environment? They can't really do anything about it. So the structure itself in the townships, I find it makes it difficult for people to kind of live a clean life, because everybody lives literally on top of each other. So that's what poses a challenge as well, is like, how do people fix this thing?
Yeah, I mean, I get what you mean by the socio-economic challenge that people face, and that might not allow them, as it were, to be able to be cognizant of what they need to do to then take care of that community or environment. I understand that challenge. And I say I understand because I also grew up, not in a posh environment, growing up in Nigeria, Lagos, but the point we're trying to make is that we still have to take responsibility as human beings.
Because it affects everyone.
Exactly.
In the long run, even those ones that live in those kind of community where it's all, everybody on top of each other, in a sense, it's going to impact everybody at the end of the day. So I wanted to quickly just define, based on what I've gotten on the internet, what climate change is. It says that climate change is a long-term alteration of temperature and typical weather patterns in a place. The causes of current climate change is largely human activity, like burning fossil fuels, natural gas, oil, and coal. And climate change may cause weather patterns to be less predictable.
Absolutely, and we've seen the patterns, So if we take it from the human activities, as you have highlighted, using fossil fuels and coal and all of that for our industrial activities, it's impacting on the environment and hence. Pardon?
I'm saying it has impacted.
It has, and it's still doing so. And for example, the first time I went to Mpumalanga, I drove into that province, driving from Gauteng. Then, I started seeing a very dark cloud, and that then quickly, struck a chord in a sense that, this is what has been on the news, that there is a lot of coal activities, because there's huge coal deposit in Mpumalanga, and the coal mining companies that are supplying ESCOM, most of them are situated there. So then I was like, no, this is not healthy. And the air is dirty, polluted. Thank you very much. So that is a very typical and practical example of how the mining of coal
Has affected the communities.
Has affected and still affecting the environment, and obviously the people and the health of the community also. And when we tie it to what's that second part you said? The predictability. The predictability. Thank you. So because of those coal industrial activities, the weather, has become less. The weather and the climate, also have become less predictable. Another example is, it was winter. It wasn't that cold, and we had expect that, it was supposed to start raining in August, late August, thereabout, and so it has been erratic. Basically, that's the point I'm trying to get across, and this is because of our activities as human beings on the environment.
Yeah. Just to add on the Mpumalanga part, I remember when we went the other time when we visited, I think last year, and the place where we stayed at actually advised us not to drink any water from the taps, just to show how much the whole coal situation has affected their day-to-day running in Mpumalanga specifically, and where you could see the impact of that to the community there. And and so with in terms of just the whole climate change thing, obviously, like scientists and people who have studied this can explain further, and people can actually read up about this information. I will also link some of the things that I've read talking about climate change, or at least at the basic explaining what climate change truly is, because I think it's some article that says that people confuse climate change with weather. It's actually like a combination of many things, that including weather is one of those outcomes that come, So I'll link the article that talks about, that specifically what it actually means. And so because of like what you're saying, that because of the activities that have happened over the years by human beings, it's affected like our environment, like big time. I was telling my husband that when I was in school, I remember that winter started May in this country, in South Africa. So from May, we already knew it's winter time, and it's winter. It started being cold, and it's winter, and it's like ice cold winter. I remember because I used to walk to school, and I will have like my nose, things will be stuck there because of how cold that our winter used to be, And over the years, I have seen the difference. I've seen the change. I think even this year is even worse because of how 1 minute, even now, we're in October.
Yeah.
1 minute it's hot. The next day, it's cold, it's chilly. You are wearing polo neck, you're wearing jackets. The next day, you're wearing like tank tops or whatever. Yeah, so it just shows erratic. How much, it's very erratic. It shows how much, a lot has changed within with our environment.
Yeah.
Okay. I also wanted to mention that in Alex, I remember we used to have a lot of informal settlements close to the Joske River.
Oh yeah.
Because Joske River is a river that goes through Alex, and it is very, very polluted. Obviously, there are a lot of people that lived on the banks, and they used to dump things there. They dump all sorts of things into the river. So obviously, there's no longer any fishes, if there were ever fishes, but there's no longer things like that. So later on, the government decided to move the people from the banks. First, I think it was mostly for their own safety, because it shakes when the flooding and the water rises. It would wipe them away. So there were those kind of implementations, and that was just once off, and that is it. If I can say that I remember very well of what the government itself is doing within the townships, I don't see much. right? I know there's other problems in the world, but this is also a problem because of the generations that's to come. And firstly, because we've been placed here to take care of Earth. And yes, we also made decisions, and unknowingly, how impacting it was to the Earth. But now we know, and we can't, people can't be ignorant to such things, because at the end of the day, it will affect us.
Yeah, definitely. And also, the thing is, again, still talking about human activities and industrial activities, and how the emission of carbon dioxide, is affecting the global warming, and the greenhouse gas, it's definitely increasing the global warming. And because of that, we're now having the sea level rising, and also the glacier, or glacier, if you like, are melting. So
quicker than
expected. And the reason why I'm connecting this is because you mentioned Joske River, and you mentioned Joske River and how the river would rise when it's raining. So it is our doing, on the amount of green gas emission that we are, emitting into the atmosphere, that is making the earth, to be warmer. And because it is then affecting every other thing.
Yes.